everybody in here. Welcome to the new year. I have been away for a little bit, but now hopefully I'll be back. Be a little bit better about recording and uploading and all that stuff. But today, I hope you can't hear the dishwasher way too much because it sounds really loud to me. But today I really wanted to do my most anticipated releases for January through March, and I had like, I'm not even kidding, but I had like probably like 12 books in January alone. So I had so many books on this list, so I had to slim it down a lot, which means there's mostly fancy on it. Because those are the ones that are, you know, top tier, the ones I'm the most interested in, obviously. But yeah, I think I have like 12 books to talk about through all of these 3 months, most in January obviously. But yeah, let's get to it. So the first book is actually called Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the sort of secret project Kickstarter that he did a couple of months ago, which obviously I supported because I like being poor. But yeah, you didn't really get much details about the books at all, so I don't want to spoil anyone if they don't want to know too much. But if you were in this Kickstarter, this is supposed to be released for you in January, and if you were not, you'll have to wait until April, unfortunately, but you will get your hands on it eventually if you want to. But I don't want to say too much about this book, except it has a beautiful cover. It's also supposed to be illustrated by Howard Leon, and this book is supposed to take place in the Cosmere, so, you know, it's related, you know, to all of the books he's written, basically. So basically, they're supposed to be sorcerers and magic and people being, you know, stricken by a disaster. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. So yeah, this is have a sort of a fluctuating release date, if you will, and I don't really know when we'll get it like home to us, because I think there was some delays from the binder or something like that. But yeah, hopefully I'll get it in my hands soon, and better believe that I'm gonna read it as soon as I freaking can. But yeah, we're gonna say January 1st because it's supposed to be released. And then we have a new fantasy series. This cover is honestly breathtakingly beautiful and I love all the covers with dragons on them. But yeah, this is Song of Silver Flame Like Night by Emily Wensau, and this is supposed to be an adult fantasy, and this is supposed to be a young adult fantasy, and there's supposed to be a lot of sort of mythology aspects crept into it as well. I think it takes mythology and folklore from ancient China. So I haven't read a lot of books that, you know, revolves around Chinese myths and legends, so really want to get on that hype train because it sounds really interesting and it's not something that I, you know, are very well versed in. This book is supposed to be published on January 3rd, so it's already out by the time I'm making this video. So basically I'm just gonna read like the first little text of it because it sounds very mysterious and it sounds good. Okay, so in a fallen kingdom, one girl carries the key to discovering the secrets of her nation's past and unleashing the demons that sleep at its heart. An epic fantasy series inspired by the mythology and folklore of ancient China. So it sounds awesome. It's also supposed to Sen, the main character, is also supposed to be a practitioner, one of the fabled magicians in this country, and basically their magic was rumored to be drawn by the dragons that lived in the area. So it sounds really cool, and I haven't found honestly a lot of books with dragons that I actually do enjoy, even though I enjoy the concept of dragons. So hopefully I will like this one a little bit more. And then we actually have a romance book, and this is The Love Match by Priyanka Taslim, and this is supposed to be out on January 3rd as well. So a lot of books on that day. And we're supposed to meet Sara Khan, and she's basically this Bangladeshi royalty, but you know, being a princess doesn't really pay your bills. You still have to, you know, work and get shit done. And Sarah's plan is to, you know, find out financial security during the summer, which means working long hours at Chai Hoi and save up for college. But Ama is convinced that Sarah just needs a perfect match. So basically she gets set up Harun, who is wealthy, devastatingly handsome, and aloof. And the minute Sarah meets him, she gets that he's a really bad match. So sounds really interesting. I love sort of setup, dating drama kind of thing going on. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. A Ruinous Fate by Kaylee Smith. This is supposed to be the first book in a new series. This is supposed to be published on January 3rd as well. Do you guys see a pattern here? This is supposed to be a young adult fantasy, and I don't really know a lot about it, but there's supposed to be magic and blood warriors starting the final war. And basically the main character, Calliope Rosewood, is destined to start the final war, but she doesn't want that destiny. She wants to change her destiny, but everything she does seems to just bring her closer to, you know, destroying the world. So yeah, it sounds really cool. A lot of betrayal and magic in this one. So yeah, really looking forward to this one as well. The Daughters of Istahir by Hader El-Sbai. And this is supposed to be a debut, which is always interesting to read, and also, you know, the first book in a duology. This book is supposed to be published on January 10th, and this is a adult LGBTQ plus novel, which is always fun to read. I think this one is supposed to be inspired by modern Egyptian history, which is always nice. So we follow two young women. Nihal, who is a young spoiled aristocrat who is used to always getting what she wants and, you know, being able to order people around. And then we have Georgina, who is a poor bookshop worker, used to having nothing, who has to fight for everything she owns. And it turns out that they have a lot more in common than they originally thought. The struggle for the rights of women, but also their ability to fight for it with the forbidden elemental magic. That's all I'm going to say, but I love it when it's forbidden magic. And hopefully they have some kick-ass powers. I don't know. One is supposed to be a water weaver, and I'm really interested in finding out how that works. But yeah, it sounds really interesting. And then, of course, we have another adult fantasy novel because I'm obsessed. But we have The Heavenly Sword by Alice Poon, which is the first book in a new series. This one is also supposed to be published on January 10th. We meet the goddess Chang, and she's set to the mortal world to stop the Sky Wolf Su Di's plans to usurp the throne. And reborn as Tiny Sayer, sorry if I'm butchering all of the names, honestly, a simple village girl. Her celestial mission requires all that Sayer can give, but in order to protect her family and the village people from the effects of Sudi's brutal civil war. And then we have something that is not adult fantasy, believe it or not. So we have romance, and this is Do I Know You by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. If you follow me, I've read a couple of their books and have a little bit mixed opinions about them for the most part. But this is supposed to be something different, which is why I'm drawn to it. But basically, we follow this couple, Elias and Graham, and they've been married for like 5 years, and they're starting to feel like the spark is, you know, fading a little bit. I don't really know what to do about it. But while on vacation, this stranger in the bar actually thinks that they don't know each other, so he introduces them to each other. And they basically just play along, pretend that they don't know each other or anything like that. So they end up, like, you know, flirting and going out on dates and stuff like that. And basically, you know, getting to know each other from the start. And maybe that will spark the sparkle again. But yeah, it sounds like fun. So this one is supposed to be out on January 24th. And then we have a young adult fantasy, and this is Seven Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb, and this is supposed to be out on February 7th. And this is also supposed to be a debut. There's a lot of debuts on this list. Didn't really check it out beforehand, but I'm always in for meeting a new author, because sometimes, like with, you know, other authors, you find a new favorite. I'm all for that. Okay, so we meet the character Rosanna, and basically after her father is murdered, she's willing to do anything to dismantle the corrupt system in the city, and she taps into her powers as a disciple of Patience, joining the rebellion and facing the boy who broke her heart. And as the youngest captain in the history of Palazzo Security, Damien is suspected to be ruthless and strong and to serve the saints with unquestioning devotion. But 3 years spent fighting in a never-ending war have left him with deeper scars than he wants to admit, and the fear of confronting the girl he left behind. So these are the main characters we're going to follow, and it sounds really interesting, and I'm all here for it. And then we actually have a middle grade book, and that is Juniper Harvey and the Vanishing Kingdom, written by Nina Varela. And this is supposed to be out on Valentine's Day, so February 14th. And this also happens to be an LGBTQ plus representation in this one, which is always fun to see in a middle grade book, because I feel like we don't get that like too often. So we meet Juniper Harvey, and she and her family moves to the middle of nowhere in Florida, and her entire life is uprooted, and if that's not bad enough, she keeps having dreams about this sort of ancient looking temple, a terrifying attack, and a mysterious girl who turns into an ivory statue. So if that doesn't sound intriguing to you, I don't know what's wrong with you. And one night after a disastrous school dance, Juniper draws a portrait of the girl from her dreams and thinks, "I wish you were here." And the next morning, she wakes up to find the girl in her room, pointing a sword at her throat. And then the unexpected visitor reveals herself as Galatea, and she is a princess from a magical world. And she basically has been transferred into Juniper's life. But she does have one problem, and that is the fact that her crown is missing and she needs it to return home. And now Juniper has to help her find her crown, all while navigating a helper's crush on her new companion. So this sounds really sweet and interesting, and I love it when there's like magic and hidden kingdoms and transporting between different worlds and stuff like that. So yeah, this sounds like fun. Then we have The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi, which is a new series by S.A. Chakraborty. And this is supposed to be out on March 2nd. And this is supposed to be an adult fantasy, and we have pirates. So that's like basically all I needed to know to want to pick up this book, because we don't get enough pirates books, and I love pirates. Like, I lived Pirates of the Caribbean. Those movies were new, especially the first movie. I've seen that movie so many times and I love it, and therefore I want to read books about pirates, because why not? So basically this is supposed to be a trilogy, and there's supposed to be a lot of magic and mayhem on the high seas, and there's going to be pirates and sorcerers and forbidden artifacts and ancient mysteries, and we follow one woman who's determined to fulfill her quest to seize a final chance at glory and write her own legend. That's all I'm gonna say, but it sounds awesome. And this is supposed to be out on March 2nd. Then we have a romance book, and this is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. We follow this main character Meryl, and she accidentally summons a demon. And the demon is there to take her soul, but she will not agree to sort of do what he wants, which is basically wish for something in return of her soul. So he ends up just hanging around. Ostroth, the ruthless, is not really used to this type of thing. And then Meryl accidentally blurts out that Ostroth is, you know, her boyfriend, and they're living together. So then they have to start fake dating to, you know, protect the secret and whatnot. And it just sounds so cute and funny, and I just need to read it. And this book is supposed to be out March 7th. Now we're on to the very last book, and that is The Valkyrie by Kate Hartfield. And this is obviously about mythology, Norse mythology to be specific, and it's adult fantasy, which we're all here for. And this is supposed to be published on March 30th. So we meet Brynhild, and she is a Valkyrie. And that means she's a shield maiden of the All-Father, Chaucer of the Slain. But now she has fallen, and she's flightless in her exile. And then we meet Gudrun, and she's a princess of Burgundy, a daughter of the Rhine, a prize for an invading king, a king whose brother Attila has other plans, and a dragon to call upon. Dragons! And in the songs to be sung, there's another hero, Sigurd, a warrior with a sword shaped sharper than the new moon. As the legends tell, these names are destined to be rivals, fated as enemies. But here on Midgard, legends can be lies, for not all heroes are heroic, nor all monsters monstrous. And a shield maiden may yet find that love is the greatest weapon of all. And that was the last book I'm going to talk about. As I said earlier, I have so many books that I want to read this year. I feel like it's going to be a very good, exceptional reading year. There's so many authors that I've read so many books from that are releasing books this year, and I'm so interested in finding out what they've been doing. So yeah, if you're interested in one of these books, please let me know down below. Or if you found some other books you really want to read this year, then let me know that too. So yeah, I hope you have a good day, and I hope we see each other in the next one. Bye!